Hey there, Christians and everybody else listening in as well. In this video, I'm going to defend the thesis that how you love is more important than what you believe in terms of doctrine. Now, there are many Bible verses that I could cite in order to defend that claim, but for this short video, I'm going to defend the claim by reiterating a thought experiment that I've been offering to people since it came originally published in my 2011 book, You're Not as Crazy as I Think. So I'm going to give you the thought experiment. I'm going to respond quickly to a few objections to it, which I think are mistaken, and then I'm going to give my conclusion. Here's the thought experiment. Based on a true story, the year is 1994. It is Rwanda. Between April and July of 1994, probably the most effective genocide of the 20th century occurred in terms of body count over a short period of time. More than 800,000 Tutsis were massacred by the majority Hutu population within Rwanda. And the great tragedy is Rwanda was in fact the most Christianized of all nations in Africa at the time. Now I want to talk within the background of that horrible context. I want to talk about two different responses to the genocide. The first response was by a Christian pastor named Elizaphan Nkutarama. Nkutarama, when he was himself Hutu, the dominant class that was perpetuating the genocide. And during the genocide, he was contacted in secret by some of his Tutsi congregants who were hiding, and they were begging him for help and protection and deliverance as their pastor. Instead of offering them deliverance, he sent the Hutu militias to massacre them. The militias went in and cut down his congregants into pieces. That was the action of Pastor Elizaphan Nkutarama. On the other hand, there was a Muslim named Mabai Diagne who worked with United Nations peacekeeping forces in Rwanda at the time. He did not have a weapon, and he was told to remain within the compound in Kigali. But instead of that, every day he disregarded the commandments that had been given to him, and he left the compound, driving his Jeep and going out and finding Tutsis and putting them into his Jeep, and then getting them back through multiple Hutu checkpoints and into the safety of the compound. And the way he did it was by using cigarettes and jokes. Now imagine the kind of courage it takes to venture out every day and to put the very people that are the object of the genocide into your Jeep, and then just to joke with the Hutu militias who are wielding guns and machetes at checkpoints and give them cigarettes and a joke and try to hope that you get through. But that's what he did day after day, and he saved the lives of dozens of Tutsis until he was finally blown apart by shrapnel in May of 1994. So this is our two responses to the Rwandan genocide: the Christian pastor who participated in genocide, or the Muslim peacekeeper who saved the lives of the very people who were the object or the target of the genocide. The first one, he acted in an abominable way, but he believed the right things in terms of Christian doctrine. The second person, he, in terms of doctrine, believed the wrong things. Christians believe Islam is an incorrect theology. He believed the wrong things, but he lived consistent with the love of God and neighbor in terms of his actions. And so then I ask the question, if you had the choice of one of those two individuals to go before the throne of God with the life, beliefs, and legacy of Pastor Nkutarama or of peacekeeper Mabai Diagne, which of those two lives and legacies would you choose? Now, at this point, I get the common rebuttal. Well, it's a false dichotomy. That's one of the rebuttals. You don't have to choose. But that actually misses the point. This is a thought experiment. Let me give you another thought experiment. Imagine that you are dropped off in the woods and you can have one thing with you, either a compass or a Bowie knife. Which would you rather have? Now, it doesn't make sense for you to reply, well, that's a false dichotomy. Why can't I have both the compass and the Bowie knife? Well, you can't have both precisely because that's the point of the thought experiment. If you only had one, which one of the two would you choose? Which one is more valuable to you? Likewise, yes, in principle, you can live a life and a life that is consistent with Christ in terms of action and also belief or doctrine. But the point of the thought experiment is if you only have one, if you only have the life lived consistently with the love of neighbor, or you have the right doctrines, which would you choose? Would you choose the compass or the Bowie knife, right? Would you choose the life and legacy of Nkutarama, who believed the right doctrine but participated in genocide? Or would you choose the life and legacy of Mabai Diagne, who rejected the genocide and saved the lives of people, but had the wrong theology, a Muslim theology. The dilemma is still there. The second response I often get is, well, you're assuming works righteousness. No, I'm not. That's not the point. The claim here is not that you could be saved because you've done enough good works. The point is, which one of these two people is the one through whom Christ is most likely living and dwelling with? If you had to choose one of those two, is Christ most likely to be present in the life of the person who believed the right things, but turned his neighbors over to a genocide? Or is Christ most likely to be dwelling within the life of the person who maybe believed some wrong doctrines, but loved their neighbor? So I don't think that you can reject the thought experiment that I proposed to you by saying, well, it's based on works righteousness. It is not. We're all saved by grace through faith. The question is, which one of these two would you choose? And this brings me finally to my conclusion. If those are my options, I could choose to be an Orthodox, quote unquote, Christian pastor who had all the right theology, but who turned my congregants over to be cut into pieces by machete wielding Hutu militias. Or if I could be somebody who believed the wrong things, believed that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet, but every day I went out and risked my life for the love of neighbor. Of those two options, I would choose Mabaya Diagne. I would choose to be the one who gave my life for his neighbor. I think all in all, that is a closer approximation of what it means to follow Christ than the pastor who believed the right things, but participated in genocide. Now, if you agree with me, then you should agree with me with the conclusion that loving your neighbor is more important than believing the right things.